A school in New Jersey is requiring its students to get vaccinated and wear masks on campus. A new poll is showing that liberal students are not proud to be American, and a school in Massachusetts has released an oppressive language list, and you're not going to believe what's on it. I'm Ophelie Jacobson, and this is the Campus Countdown. Starting off with our number 3 story of the week, Monmouth University has released their new COVID-19 guidelines for the upcoming semester, which requires all students to wear masks regardless of vaccination status. The June 14th guidelines state that all students and faculty are required to be fully vaccinated for the fall semester, with few religious or medical exemptions permitted. Students and faculty will also be required to submit proof or documentation of their vaccination by August 1st through the New Jersey Schools Health Portal. Even if the whole student body and faculty will be vaccinated, the school will still be requiring masks in all classrooms, labs, and libraries. So much for following the science. On May 28th, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention updated its interim public health recommendations for fully vaccinated people. Quote, the risk of COVID-19 infection is minimal for fully vaccinated people. The risk of coronavirus transmission from fully vaccinated people to unvaccinated people is also reduced. Therefore, fully vaccinated people can resume activities without wearing a mask or physically distancing except where required. Monmouth University is explicitly contradicting the science here by stating that even if you have a vaccine, you will still be required to wear a mask on campus. This sends a poor message to the next generation of leaders that science doesn't matter. And speaking of science, Monmouth also seems to have forgotten that college-age students are among the least likely to end up in the hospital or die from COVID-19. For a population that is relatively low risk when it comes to COVID, mandatory vaccinations and mask mandates are an unnecessary use of force. It seems as if this school is more concerned about control than they are with trusting the experts and promoting smart safety measures, according to the CDC. Luckily, a few students at the school have started to push back by creating a petition against the mandatory vaccines. The petition currently has 279 signatures, and we at Campus Reform will continue monitoring the situation at this school. Moving on to our second top story of the week, a new survey out of North Dakota State University found that the majority of students identifying as liberal or liberal-leaning are not proud to be American. Shocker. This nationwide survey asked over 400,000 students from more than 1,000 American college campuses questions about their feelings on a number of social and political issues. So let's dive into some of the findings. According to the survey, 57% of liberal college students say they are not proud to be an American, and 81% of that same group says that college has helped shape their perception of America. This is proof right here that our college students are being taught to hate this country and everything that comes with it. It's no wonder that when we talk to students, they tell us that they hate the American flag or that they want to cancel Memorial Day. You can check out those videos on our YouTube channel, by the way. The next generation of leaders is growing up with a hatred of America, no doubt about it. There is no patriotism, there is no love for this country, and there is no respect for the American flag anymore. How are these students supposed to lead our nation to greatness if they don't even believe it is capable of greatness in the first place? The survey also asked students of their opinions on socialism versus capitalism. It found that 27% of students say college gave them a more positive view of socialism, while only 8% said they now think more positively of capitalism. So if you're wondering where the support for socialism is coming from, look no further than our higher education institutions. This is indoctrination at its finest. Students will take what they learned in college and use it to dictate how they vote in the future. And as a college student, I can't say I'm surprised by these statistics. Last semester, I took a political theory class where half of the students were arguing for socialism. We even have a Young Democratic Socialist chapter at the University of Florida. So when you have organizations and students outwardly supporting socialism, it's no wonder why students come out of college more supportive of it than ever before. And another key component of the survey found that 69% of students believe professors should be reported for saying something offensive in the classroom, and 60% of students believe they should report other students for saying something offensive as well. It seems as if these students are taking their tactics straight out of the book 1984. Just as the thought police discovered and punished thoughts unapproved by the government in Orwell's novel, these students are acting as the speech police, turning in those that express any thought unapproved by liberal mainstream society. My generation has a tendency that, when they find something offensive, they can just run to the university administration and snitch on them. How are these students going to behave in the workplace when they get out of college? Will they run to the CEO of the company every time a coworker says something they find offensive? The danger is, and the reality is, anything and everything can be found offensive these days. And speaking of offensive speech, our top story of the week comes out of a Massachusetts school that recently released an oppressive language list. The list includes words that have been found by Brandeis University to be, quote, violent, culturally appropriative, and identity-based. And all of this in an effort to, quote, remove oppressive language from everyday use. So let's go through each category and pick out some of the most insane words that are on these lists. Oh, sorry guys, I forgot. I can't say the word insane anymore because according to Brandeis University, that's oppressive, including the words crazy and wild. They're all identity-based and words that are part of ableist language, again, according to Brandeis University. Another word on that list, policeman. So now not only does the left want to defund the police, they want to get rid of the word entirely. Let's check out the violent language list. Here we have words such as picnic, rule of thumb, and here's a trigger warning for this last one. The phrase trigger warning itself is being deemed as offensive now. And the worst part of it all is that the list has the potential to grow. Students are invited to submit suggestions to the list of oppressive language. The submission form states that, quote, personal reasons are more than welcomed for recommending a word or term. For example, I could technically submit a suggestion to add the phrase birthing people to the list of oppressive language because as a woman, I feel offended by this term that the left has created. It would be interesting to see if Brandeis University would add that phrase to the list. What people don't realize is that in a country where freedom of speech is such a fundamental right, there is a chance that anything can be deemed offensive by someone at any point in time. So any student can say that a word or a phrase offends them for personal reasons, which is obviously very subjective. Offensive speech is very hard to define, and this school is failing miserably at an attempt to do so. Brandeis University is using Orwellian tactics by wanting to control what its students say. College is supposed to be a time where students learn how to think for themselves, but how can they do that if their schools are dictating every single word they say? This should concern all Americans. This is not only a ridiculous attempt to please the woke mob, it's a direct attack on our freedom of speech. Students are growing up in an environment where they think it's okay for their university to tell them what they can and can't say. The next generation of leaders will certainly take this mindset when they graduate and try to censor their coworkers' speech in the workplace as well. And moving on to our woke tweet of the week, this one comes from a professor at Bridgewater State University who took to Twitter to share his thoughts on the Catholic Church. Matt Bell, associate professor of English at Bridgewater, tweeted on June 21st, quote, "F*** the Catholic Church, which should never be treated as a moral authority again." Bell has since made his Twitter account private and has prevented the general public from seeing the tweet. This tweet is obviously in response to the recent developments surrounding the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops' virtual meeting last week, during which they discussed President Biden's ability to continue receiving Holy Communion during Mass as he pushes what some may call the most pro-choice agenda in the history of this country. The ironic part about this tweet is that the professor is essentially saying the Catholic Church isn't moral anymore because it is going against abortion. Since when did protecting the sanctity of human life become immoral? This professor had every right to tweet what he did, but his claim that the Catholic Church should never be treated as a moral authority is completely contradictory in itself. And as a Catholic, I find it concerning that professors are now trying to question my faith and my belief in the institution of the Catholic Church. I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable sharing my religious views in his classroom, and I'm sure other Catholic students would feel the same way. Those are all of the stories we have for you today. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow along with the college craziness on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Campus Reform. We'll be back next week, as always, with another episode of the Campus Countdown. But for now, I'm Ophelie Jacobson. Thanks for watching.
My name is Addison Smith and I'm with Campus Reform. Thanks so much for watching, and it really helps if you like and leave a comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe right here so you can stay up to date on all of our content. If you want to help us to continue to make these videos, please donate to the link here. And lastly, if you want to get hooked up with some of our swag, click here.